So, welcome to a new video. As you probably guessed by the title, this video is going to be about Captain Marvel. I thought now is the right time to do this video because the character is getting his solo film. So, yeah. Like I always do in my all in history of Marvel comics or DC comics, I'm gonna list the characters. I'm gonna talk a little bit about them and and what they did. So yeah, and let's start right off with the original Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel of the Kree race. He was created by the late great Stan Lee and Gene Colan, and first appeared in Marvel Superheroes issue 12, 1967. So that's a long time ago. And he got his solo series the next year in 1968. But it was quickly cancelled. So Roy Thomas and Jill Kane reworked the character by issue 21, which like I said, didn't help as it was cancelled. It wasn't until Jim Starlin took Marvel under his wing that he became a popular character. This new series lasted till 1979, so about 10 years, which I think is pretty great. And I mean, it didn't really have the best sales, but I mainly kept it going because Marvel had the trademark of Captain Marvel. Still, the series was cancelled in 1979 by issue 68. So that's kinda a little bit of his publication history, and now I wanna talk about the character itself in the Marvel 616 universe, the main universe. Marvel was originally a spy for the Kree Empire, but fell in love with Earth and its people, that he deserted from the Kree Empire. On Earth, he disguised himself as the human Walter Lawson. This caused a little bit of trouble as Walter Lawson had a criminal past. And yeah, he went around, had adventures with his love companion Carol Danvers, onto her later. And he was also a big part in the Kree Skrull War. So after the Kree Skrull War, he had a few more adventures with the Avengers, but then he died to sort of cancer in the 1980s. And as it is with many characters, Marvel was brought back to life a couple of times, but as of right now, he is definitely dead. On to number 2, Monica Rambeau. This character was created by Roger Stern and John Romita Jr., first appearing in The Amazing Spider-Man Annual issue 16 in the year of 1982. John Romita Jr. took inspirations for the look of the character from actress Pam Grier. Side note, I don't know who this actress is, and it isn't really important as the design was ultimately changed last minute. This version of Captain Marvel was a major character during Stern's run of Avengers and had no ties to the previous Captain Marvel. Nor did she ever really go into space and had their adventures in the 80s, at least. After Stern was finished with the Avengers, she still appeared in various Avenger books and other titles published by Marvel, including 2 one-shots solely about her. So that is the publication history. There's a lot more to her, but I'm trying here to skim a little bit. So she received her powers after being exposed to an experimental weapon, and then she joined the Avengers. Like, not immediately, but she did. During her time with the Avengers, she even got to lead the team on many missions, later taking on names like Photon and Pulsar. Now, she didn't really use Photon long as a name. I think because of her successor in a Captain Marvel named Janice Vell, he tried to make a name for himself, so he used the moniker of Photon, and she was like, "Okay, fine, you can have it." And then she changed to Pulsar. As Pulsar, Monica became an involuntary member of Next Wave, which is a really hilarious comic book series that isn't really placed in the Marvel main continuity, but it's also kind of is, it's wonky with Next Wave, and it's absolutely hilarious. You should definitely read it. And I think she was also as Captain Marvel in the original Secret Wars event, also by Jim Starlin. Through the years, Monica Rambeau worked both with Janice Vell, that I've already mentioned, and Carol Danvers, who are also already mentioned. As of right now, she is still acting as a superior and part of Luke Cage's Mighty Avengers under the name Spectrum. So, number 3 is Janice Vell. He was created by Ron Mars and Ron Lim, having his first appearance in Silver Surfer Annual number 6 in 1993 as Legacy. 2 years later, in 1995, he got his own 2 very short-lived solo series under the name Captain Marvel. It wasn't until Avengers Forever that Janice Vell really had his big breakthrough, but after that story was finished, he faded again into obscurity. That even an accomplished writer like Peter David couldn't save Janice Vell in another solo run, and was quickly cancelled too. So in the 616 universe, Janice is kind of a genetic clone, but also the son of Marvel, the original Captain Marvel. He was constructed by Elysius, a lover of the original Captain Marvel, and very important in the Destiny Wars event that is basically Avengers Forever, where Immortus was the big bad guy that they had to defeat. It's also in this story that Janice bonded with Rick Jones, who had accomplished his father on a few adventures. And I mean, not just like bonded, but literally bonded. They became one person, which granted Janice the ability of cosmic awareness. Unfortunately, he couldn't handle this ability, and soon insanity befell him. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that he does in his time period of being insane, like reshaping the universe. I'm not going completely into how he managed to do that, because it's really weird and would stretch out the video. But the end result was that he had an adult sister now, who I'm coming to next. And afterwards, he went into battling his own future evil son. And I mean, instead of proper parenting his son in the past, so that his son will not become evil, he just decides to have not children at all, which makes his son fade away. So after all these adventures, Rick Jones and Janice finally part, and Janice joins the Thunderbolts, and in a lot more crazy events that involve Baron Zemo, this leads to Janice being shattered all across the universe, never to be reformed. So basically he's dead, and he's still dead. Now on to number 4, Phyla Vell. Phyla Vell was created by writer Peter David and artist Paul Azaceta, debuting in Captain Marvel issue number 16 in January 2003. She had her first major part during Annihilation Conquest, in which she had her own solo series called Quasar. So yeah, she didn't debut as Captain Marvel, but as Quasar. After that, she made further appearances alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy, who you might know from the movies, or the TV show Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, which was a very short-lived animated TV show and was very good, and there she appeared in a second season in one episode alongside her Guardians teammates. Now, I actually didn't know that was Quasar / Phyla Vel. I only found out about it when I did the research for this video. She finally took on the name Captain Marvel in Captain Marvel issue 19 in 2004 and used the name for about 3 years. Like her brother, Phyla is a genetically engineered being made by her mother Elysius, but really she came into existence because the aforementioned fuckery with space and time that Janice Well did. Now, at first, in her hero career, she had troubles following the footsteps of the original Quasar, Vandal Vaughn, and in the heroic footsteps of her family, the Marvel family. With her lover Moondragon, Phyla finds during Annihilation Adam Warlock's cocoon, and Adam Warlock is a really important figure in a lot of Marvel stories that have to do with space. And yeah, Phyla is a lesbian. I mean, she is with Moondragon, or was, so that should give you the biggest clue. After Annihilation, she joins the Guardians of the Galaxy. This results then in her becoming the hero martyr, and in that time period she was just extremely violent and shit. So nothing like when she was introduced. Then there was the War of Kings event. I haven't read it, but it's also a space adventure. But in that event, Phyla was fatally stabbed by the Magus, which is the dark side of Adam Warlock. But that wasn't the end of her. Later, when she fought against the Phalanx, she ran around on a spaceship trying to find the cocoon of Adam Warlock, and then she opened one that she thought that had Adam Warlock. So let's go with number 5. Let me just say that I have actually no idea how to pronounce his name. I mean, it's spelled KHN''NR. So for the sake of you people understanding me, I'm just gonna say Connor. Connor is the 5th Captain Marvel and was introduced in 2007, created by Paul Jenkins, one of my personal favorite Spider-Man writers, and Tom Rainey. Originally, people believed that Connor was the original Captain Marvel because it just looked so much like Marvel, but later that was revealed to be false, as Connor is a Skrull. This was revealed in his own comic book series called Captain Marvel and was published in 2008, and there isn't really much afterwards. Connor was a part of the Secret Invasion because, well, he was a Skrull and the Skrull tried to invade Earth, so it makes sense that he was part of the Skrull side. I think the movie is also gonna heavily lift elements of Secret Invasion into the Captain Marvel movie. So yeah, Connor was locked by his own people in the form of Marvel and equipped with Skrull-made negabands. So with the Kree they are called quantum bands, but the Skrull call it negabands, so it's slightly different but still the same actually. So not only did he look like Marvel and had the same equipment of Marvel, they also implemented their memories of the original Captain Marvel into his mind. Now, during Civil War, which came right after Secret Invasion, Connor was part of the Pro-Registration Act that was led by Tony Stark, alias Iron Man, but ultimately he deserts the final battle, and because of all the stuff he experienced on Earth, the implemented mental trigger malfunctioned, and so Connor thought he was the real Marvel. Later on, this belief was shattered, but still Connor stood up against his own race to fight for the human race, basically like Marvel had done when he chose to stand by the humans against the Kree. Connor then takes on a whole fleet of Skrulls and wrecks them, But despite his efforts, he's still bested, and right before dying meets his successor, Nova, passing. Now we go on to a more well-known character again, which is Nova, created by Grant Morrison and J.G. Jones for the Marvel Knights imprint in 2000. Now, originally the character was introduced as Marvel Boy in the same title comic series that was written by Grant Morrison, which ran from 2000 to 2001. After that, he joined the Dark Avengers, posing as Captain Marvel right away in Dark Avengers issue number 1, 2009. The next year, Nova debuted as Protector in Miss Marvel issue number 50, 2010, and became a regular on the Avengers comic book series of that time, leaving it by 2012. By 2013, the character had returned to his original Marvel Boy persona and enlists in the Young Avengers. Now, Nova doesn't actually come from our universe, but he comes from an alternative universe. He has various escapades that brings him into the attention of the Illuminati, which is like team of the smartest brains of the Marvel universe that consists of Tony Stark, Charles Xavier, Namor, Reed Richards, and Black Panther, and they gave him kind of an ultimatum, but not as bad as Ultimatum 3. That's a little reference for comic book fans. After that, he truly became a hero. During Civil War, Nova was brainwashed and sent out to hunt both Young Avengers as well as the Runaways. You might know the Runaways from the TV show that runs on Hulu and got a second season, although I recommend really to better read the comic series. It's much better than the TV show. He eventually manages to escape from prison in the aforementioned Secret Invasion. I have to keep mentioning it because Secret Invasion was a big thing after 2000s, and Nova actually was one of the people who stopped it next to Norman Osborn. And then he joined the Dark Avengers, getting offered a spot by Norman Osborn. But as Nova tried to be a hero, he soon discovered that the Dark Avengers were actually a team of villains posing as superheroes. He then fled from the Dark Avengers and kept a low profile, occasionally teaming up with Wolverine, and he also travels with a girl named Annie. Then he finally joins the real Avengers, stopping many threats like Kang. I'm getting more into the character later, and the Hood. Nova was also a part of the Avengers vs. X-Men fiasco. Afterwards, Nova joined the Young Avengers, making amends for the wrongs he did unto them in Civil War. Now let's get Captain Marvel of right now, which is Carol Danvers. Now, Carol Danvers was introduced way back in Marvel Superheroes issue number 13 in 1968 as a love interest to the original Captain Marvel, or Walter Lawton. Carol became then Miss Marvel in Miss Marvel issue number 1 in 1977, so like 9 years after she first was introduced. She then appeared as Binary in The Uncanny X-Men issue number 165 in 1982, and had another makeover in 1998 where she appeared as Warbird in the Avengers. And it was, like I said, it's fairly recent that Carol has taken the name of Captain Marvel, and that happened in Avenging Spider-Man issue number 9, 2012. Now Carol is a trained fighting pilot who both worked for the Air Force and NASA, and it was during her time at NASA that she met the original Captain Marvel. Now for her first years of appearance, she was most of the time damsel in distress that Captain Marvel had to save. And this got changed when she came in contact with the Kree technology machine, the Psyche Magnetron, and in a scuffle between Captain Marvel, Jon Rock, his arch-enemy, and, well, Carol Danvers, the machine activated and remixed her DNA with that of Captain Marvel. So, for a long time, it was believed that her powers stemmed from this accident, but in her recent comic book series, it was revealed that her mother is already a Kree, and that she had always these powers. They were just amplified by the Psyche Magnetron. She then took on. She didn't really know that she was Miss Marvel, so Carol often had blackouts, and then Miss Marvel appeared, and then Miss Marvel blacked out, and she was Carol again. But eventually she worked through it and became aware that it was both Carol Danvers and Miss Marvel, which is kind of a thing that they will touch upon in the movie too, which I think is very interesting. Now, because of her being Captain Marvel, she became one of the most respected heroes of New York, even joining the Avengers, although her first run with the Avengers wasn't really good, and there was a really disgusting story that I don't want to get into. You can read it for yourself if you're interested. But anyway, this story ended with her leaving the team angry and horrified, and also confronting the Avengers about just letting her down. She then relocated to San Francisco and met there the X-Men, having an altercation with Rogue, who robbed her of her coma, of her powers, and left her in a coma. I think we all saw that in the X-Men cartoon from the 90s, in which Rogue had the powers of Miss Marvel, and I think this story was also brought up. After that, after she woke from her coma, she was captured by the Brood, who experimented on her, and the Brood are an alien race that are enemies of the X-Men. Well, the Brood experimented on her, like I said, and they augmented her powers, making her even stronger. So now she was binary, because she could tap into the white hole, which is the exact opposite of a black hole. Then Carol died by the hands of Magneto, but because literally no death is a consequence for any character, Miss Marvel was brought back to life and rejoined the Avengers, really proving her value in the team, and that it was truly a mistake that they let her down. In this time period, she also overcame an alcohol addiction and the trauma of her rape. Yeah, that's the disgusting story that I was talking about earlier. Miss Marvel was raped, but not just by anybody. She was raped by her own son, which is weird. But the way that she overcame rape trauma is that in a story she faced Marcus Kang. Not the same Marcus Kang, but kind of a different Marcus Kang, but still the same. It's very complicated. This was the son of Kang and not of Immortus, despite Kang and Immortus being the same people, being the same person, just at different time points. So, like I said, anything that relates to Kang the Conqueror / Immortus / Ravatud is really complicated. Maybe I'm doing a video on it in the future. And so, yeah, which the weird thing is just that Kang will become at some point Immortus, but Marcus Kang will also become Immortus, but the same Immortus. Very convoluted. And then after that story, or maybe somewhat later, House of M happened, and luckily House of M wasn't too bad for Carol, as she could keep being Miss Marvel and was was actually really good in the public eye. People loved her. Eventually, she was brought aware by X-Men alumni Emma Frost that House of M was an alternate reality and not how it was supposed to be. Then came Civil War, in which she was also on Iron Man's side, like a couple of other Captain Marvels before her. And after Civil War and Skrull invasion, a new Avengers team was formed called the New Avengers, which I like to read. It was a good run. It had Luke Cage, Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Miss Marvel. And understandably, Cal had some issues with former supervillain, and at that time period in the 2000s, Norman Osborn was also Minister of Defense, so yeah, who tried to actually get her into the Dark Avengers. She declined, luckily. Later, her doubts were proven right when Norman Osborn tried to siege Asgard, which was at that time point hovering over Oklahoma. Look, the 2000s were a weird time. Then she fought against the Hulk in Fear Itself, was also seen in Avengers vs. X-Men, and then she got her own solo series, which started off good, but we already are at the 5th reboot, same writer, different artists, and it's really, it's bad. It's really bad. Yeah. Kel was also one of the leading sides in Civil War 2, which is even worse than the original Civil War. She was also in Secret Wars, which was still kind of a good multi-event. But Civil War, nah. Then came the less awful Secret Empire, in which she was also part of, and for a time she also took command of Alpha Flight. As of right now, she's doing stuff in her solo series. I wouldn't recommend it to watch it, but if you like it, do it. I don't care. Wow, this video is much longer than I expected, and in my humble opinion, I only really like Monica and Janice well as Captain Marvel, because I'm the most familiar with them. I like Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel, not so much as Captain Marvel, because outside politics just have kind of trashed her character, and for my opinion, she was just in too many awful multi-crossover events. Now let me just say that I'm kind of excited for the Captain Marvel movie, and I have seen actually other movies